As always, we want you guys to get in touch watching at home. Use the hashtag the headline makers to join the conversation. Liverpool fans, tell us what you make of the character, the resilience in this team to have Liverpool now just 4 wins away, 12 points away from their first ever Premier League title. Great to have you two in the studio with us. I've missed both of you very, very much. Let's kick off with a quote from Jason Burt in The Telegraph. He says, the roar around Anfield at the end with the injured captain Jordan Henderson seeking out goalkeeper Alisson for a bear hug said it all as Liverpool collected another win in their inevitable march towards the Premier League title.
He's absolutely right. Liverpool were fantastic, not because they played particularly well, but because the character that they showed in that game and the cutting edge up front to wear down a very unlucky West Ham team. Before we came on air, I filed a story to my desk here in London about the midfielder Thomas Souček for West Ham. He was excellent in the first half.
Yeah.
He'd made 5 aerial tackles. Liverpool couldn't cope with him, and it was because of him that West Ham had the momentum to take the lead, stun Anfield, stun all of us who were watching beyond. And in the second half, he only lasted 3 minutes. They think he's got a groin injury.
Okay.
And it could be a couple of weeks. That could be fatal for their chances of staying in the Premier League, because since he's arrived, he's been an influential player for the club. And he's really shown where that £16 million that they spent on him has gone. As far as Liverpool are concerned, once he'd gone, they were able to seize West Ham by the throat and take advantage, because by the end they were clear winners and they could have scored a couple more. But I think as far as West Ham are concerned, I will focus on West Ham because I think they were very unlucky, as they have been all season. First to have the wrong manager, then to have an abysmal goalkeeper, then to have a goalkeeper who comes back who's far better, who commits the kind of mistake the previous goalkeeper did. So nothing went right for West Ham last night. Had it done, they would have won, and they would have been the first team to beat Liverpool all season. As it is, Liverpool have only dropped 2 points from 27 matches. That is a simply outstanding record in the Premier League, and testament to Jurgen Klopp and his team for that.
Which is incredible. It was against Manchester United, wasn't it, last year, all those months ago? Yeah. From a Liverpool point of view, though, Sam, when you look at the characters, I said at the top of the show, and getting people to tweet in using that hashtag, the headline makers, resilience, character, there was an air of inevitability about Liverpool that even when they were 2-1 down in that second half, you just knew, and more importantly, those players believed and knew that it was going to happen.
They just find a way. This team has got this ability somehow to... They don't always batter teams. Like when City won the league with 100 points 2 years ago, they played the kind of football that other teams couldn't get near. They couldn't touch them, and they'd put 4 or 5 past them and march on, and it was just something we'd never seen before. Liverpool seem to always do just enough. They seem to, whether it's Norwich away and you get a goal in the 82nd minute, or it's West Ham at home and you have to battle back from 2-1 down, they always seem to have enough. And I think it's because they're better than at everything than every team. If you look at it, City had their great strengths, that they can pass the ball so well in their shape. But Liverpool, you can't outfight them.
No.
You can't outrun them. You can't outpass them. Only City can, really, and they played each other twice in the season. No other team comes close on these sort of basic levels. I think Chris Wilder said that after Sheffield United lost at Anfield. He said, where do you start with this team? Because there's no easy chink in the armour to exploit. And
you know why you're absolutely right, Sam. I know we should be arguing, but let's just agree on this. Up front, they're outstanding. They score against any team in the Premier League. But in midfield, they've got that steel and resilience. At the back, they've got such strong resilience and organisation. But in the last couple of games, Alisson's been key. In a game against Norwich, where Lucas Rupp has got Timu Pukki alongside him, and they race in on goal, 2 against 1 against Alisson, and he stands up well right until the last minute, then he scoops the ball from the feet of Lucas Rupp just as he's about to square it to Timu Pukki to score, take the lead for Norwich. Would have changed the whole basis of the game. Instead, Liverpool keep a clean sheet and they go on to score late on. In this game, had Jared Bowen scored that goal, again, a different climax to the game. But right there, you saw a championship striker up against one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And he worried him out of it, basically. And that's the point I'm making. When you say they're better at everything, it isn't just scoring goals. It's they've got a better goalkeeper. They've got better in defence. they're better organised in midfield. They've got more energy. They're fitter. They're stronger. They've got more mental strength. This is an invincible Liverpool team. And I think they're not just going to win the league this season. I can't see anybody taking it from them because their attitude, Will, is spot on.
Having that next season already, he's gone in, Lewis. He's already called them champions.
Well, I think
I'll get my coat.
We'll clip that up as well. We always like to, anything that backfires, we'll let you know.
But what will be really interesting this summer is how much they invest, because they spent hardly any money at all since the last 12 months. Beyond Minamino, they've pretty much not brought anyone in. And you look at it, they've got the financial means to go big on somebody big, and you hear whispers of Mbappe being on the list, you hear whispers of Timo Werner, even Jadon Sancho. You think, you look at that and think, if they take that next step forward, it's hard to see. I mean, if they do that, I can't disagree with you at all, Darren, that would be a team that's verging on invincible.
I think the recruitment at Liverpool, Sam, has been key, because where they've seen a weakness, they've not just strengthened, they've just smashed it out of the park. Alisson, Van Dijk, Timo Werner would fit in to what they're trying to do.
Where would he fit in?
Up front. Listen, if you've got Timo
At the
Werner,
expense of?
when you look, you say at the expense of, when you look at the top sides who have won things, the Manchester Uniteds, when they won, they had 4 top strikers. York, Cole, Sheringham, Solskjaer. When you look at Real Madrid, when they ripped it up, they had quality coming out of their ears. Wesley Sneijder left Real Madrid and went to Inter Milan and won the treble, inspired them to the treble. When you are a top seed, top team wanting to dominate domestically and in Europe, you have to have quality coming out of your ears.
But there is a balance, Sam, isn't there, in terms of bringing, because of course they brought in Takumi Minamino as well in the January window, of how do you split that front three up, given the season that, bear in mind, they could have 111 points. They could win the Premier League, which is insane.
It's sort of mind-blowing. But you do look at this season, and someone like Divock Origi has played quite a lot of minutes, whether that's niggles to Mane or Salah or coming off the bench. And he's an effective player, he's a good player, but he's not on the same level as Mane, Salah and Firmino. He's just not that good. Whereas having a fourth option to replace him as a substitute or to start or to compete with those two, I think those three would be key. And also African Cup of Nations next year. There's going to be Mane and Salah missing for decent chunk of the season at a very busy time of the year. Absolutely. So you can see why Liverpool would want more firepower up front.
And when Liverpool, because it is when and not if, when Liverpool do win the Premier League title, the date could be fascinating, couldn't it? Because the easiest way to look at it is if they win their next 4 games.
I still don't think that it's a foregone conclusion. You know?
Come on, Darren.
Come on, you got to give me that one.
We should just finish there, shouldn't we? People very confused watching around the world. He was joking. So no, just looking at when they do it. If they win the next 4 games, it could be against Crystal Palace. Well, it will be against Crystal Palace, but it depends what Manchester City do as well. And it could be against City, which would be if it could
changing
be
of the
with
guard.
a draw against Manchester City. Equally, it could be, and they'd like this one against Everton as well.
Either way, well, to be fair, they might send the kids out again against Everton because obviously the kids did well in the FA Cup. But, listen, either would be fantastic. Against Everton, for obvious reasons, big rivals in Merseyside. Against City, as I said, would be a literal changing of the guard because Liverpool have basically been 1 minute coughing in their dust and the next minute leaving them for dead. And not just leaving them for dead, but as I said before, you look at last season, they ran them close domestically, but they won the Champions League. And I think the biggest thing about this Liverpool team, I'm sure you'll agree with this, Sam, it's the attitude reflects the leadership. Klopp is not willing to rest on any laurels. Loads of people, even this week, they've equalled Manchester City's unbeaten run of 18 matches between August and December 2017. Yeah. It doesn't matter a lick to the players. I was in a press...
You don't think so?
No, doesn't matter a lick. And I know this because I speak to the players. I spoke to them at Norwich after they'd won there. And they were close to a couple of records. And we spoke to them and... What does it matter? After they won at West Ham, I spoke to Virgil van Dijk.
It's been just drilled into them, the way that the captain speaks as well. Surely when it comes to the summer, they will look back on those and go, look, we did that. We got the most points in the Premier League. We beat City. Because now it's about records. They've won the Premier League.
No, I think they've got the old Roy Keane attitude of once you win something, once you achieve something, you look at the other worlds to conquer. You look at how, because that's how Liverpool became the domestic giant in superpower, if you like, in England and in Europe during the 80s, because they didn't just rest on their laurels. That's why Man United did it in the 90s. They didn't rest on their laurels.
Because I mean, if they win the league like this, they've completed football, haven't they? They've won the Champions League. They've done this.
But you also look at the players on the pitch, and that comes from Klopp, and I completely agree. That comes from Klopp, but that also comes from Henderson. And I think even though Henderson wears the captain's armband, I think most obviously comes from Van Dijk. And you watch every match, when something goes wrong, a little mistake somewhere, Van Dijk is furious. And he'll throw his hands up and be like, and he's extremely demanding. You can see him. And obviously, he never makes the mistake himself, which helps. But if someone around him doesn't do what he expects, he lets them know about it. And that ties in with the Roy Keane thing, that you have to be demanding.
You do. And when we were at West Ham, we were saying to Van Dijk, you must be happy when you get up in the morning and you look at the league. He says, I don't look at the league table. Why would I look at the league table? I'm not interested in the league table. I'm interested in going out and winning matches. And that's where his focus has to be, looking that way, not behind him or admiring enemy. Because once you start doing that, that's when you start to fall off your perch. And that's exactly what's happened to City.
Henry Winter said, and this is moving it nicely onto West Ham, the night seemed set, usual service had been assumed, yet this was a West Ham side with more ambition than of late. And look, when we talk about David Moyes, Sam, he came in, didn't he, and very boldly said, this is what I do, I win. And when you look back to the time he took over from Manuel Pellegrini, one win in 8 league games, which came against Bournemouth, that 4-0 victory back on the 1st of January, on New Year's Day. That's it. Yeah,
it's actually hard to, because before we looked at the goalkeeper and thought, okay, Roberto's the problem. That's the big issue there. That, and the team's not quite firing. They've got some good players, but they're not quite there. Now you look at it and think, okay, actually, this goes deeper than that. This is, and Moyes is the kind of manager who will come in and fix. He's shown before. He goes in and fixes problems.
What has he fixed?
Well, that's the thing. At the moment, it's hard to see what he has fixed. Yesterday, there was clear progress. There was clear signs of, okay, we've got a plan, we've got a structure, and they caused Liverpool problems. Which,
but arguably, just to play devil's advocate in a game that no one expected them to get anything from, and having that freedom and that to express themselves. Because if they lost 5-0, there would have been no question.
And it's very different doing it at Anfield.